coaches, welcome back to another Modern Soccer Coach Breakdown. Today we're going to talk about defensive principles in your game model. We're going to break down how you can organize them and how you can maybe adapt them towards different systems and different formations. It's good timing on the defensive end. We've just released a new ebook, 30 high intensity pressing exercises. So if you're looking at organizing your exercises in pre-season, getting ready for the new season, or just looking for more ideas on the defensive end, check it out on the link below. It's just released. Ebook, you get it right away. modernsoccercoach.com/shop. Link below. Here we go. Defensive principles. So the first thing we're going to look at is what are defensive principles. Now, in order to really go into depth and detail, you've got to know and understand your identity. There's a whole process to go through in that there. We're not going to go through it today. Today, we're just going to look at the defensive end. But the foundation of all of this is based on the game model. So the 4 moments of the game: when you have the ball, when the opponents have the ball, when you win the ball, when they win the ball. They all interact, they all intersect. But the important thing we'll look at today is the difference between principles and formations. And it's really, really important to understand the difference between the two and not to get caught up in 4-4-2, 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, whatever it is. And we've done a few webinars with this with Modern Soccer Coach. One of the best explanations I've heard is from Chris Little, who's the assistant coach at Colorado Rapids MLS. Came on in 2020. The link is below if you want to watch the full webinar. He gave a detailed description of his game model with Tacoma Defiance. Here's a little segment in how he defined the difference between principles and formations.
I'm going through the French course. I'm actually on my pro license at the moment, and we're going through this kind of style of play and identity process as a coach. And I think a system of play and systems are actually secondary to principles. I think your identity, your principles, what you want to see are more important than then the actual system of play. The numbers 4-4-2 or 4-2-3-1, whatever it might be, is to supplement the principles. Because I think sometimes you might have injuries, or for example, in an academy, when I was coaching the under-17s, we had 2 national team number 9s. So if I have 2 national team number 9s, it didn't make sense to play with 1 striker. So we went to 2 strikers, but our principles are the same.
So my challenge for this video here is to look at making principles adaptable to each and every formation. Now, when we're putting this together in pre-season, we're looking at communicating with our players and creating a common language. It's important to make sure that we're not tying any principle to a certain formation. So if we play against a different team, different system, we can adapt, and we can also make our teams a little bit more tactically flexible. So we want to make sure we're adaptable as possible with these different principles. So in order to do so, we're going to put our principles and split them into 3 different areas. When we're looking at the areas, we're going to look at where specifically it is in the context of the game, and then what principles change with an example of each one. Here we go. So the first one we're going to look at is probably the most obvious one, the high press. What principles can you put into the high pressing system? For me, these are adaptable towards every single system. So you're looking at inviting the initial press. If you stand too close to defenders, obviously the goalkeeper's going to go big. So you want to invite that press. That can be the first principle. Second of all, I would look at the distances and making sure you get those right, making the play predictable. Personally, I like using the sideline as a defender. Constant adjustment of positions, anticipation of what can happen underneath, and then making sure you manage that defensive line at all times. Try to keep it as high as possible and condense that space between defense and attack. Here's an example of what this looks like in a tactical situation. So for this system, we will look at a 4-2-3-1 press, and you can see the principle that we had on inviting pressure. So those are the responsibilities and positional roles. We're going to stand back a little bit and invite that pass. You can see here, as soon as the ball is played, we're going to try and make play predictable with the number 9 showing the ball to the wide area. Once the ball goes to the wide area, cut off the switch. Number 2 is going to get tight, and then the defenders are going to deal with that vertical pass. That will slow down the attack, and then if the player plays into the middle, because we've got a 2v1 advantage in the back, maybe the defenders can be a little bit more aggressive and step into that ball with one behind, keep the balance, and then look at the space you have in transition, which is obviously the reward of pressing, trying to get an attacking opportunity in transition against a team which is recovering from an expansive shape. All right, the next set of principles we're going to look at is when we are in a mid-block. When is that? Usually whenever the opposition have built up and broke the first or second line of pressure. It's going to happen in the course of a game. Very rarely are you going to be successful with your pressing throughout the whole game. So when your press is broken, can you get organised in the mid-block? Can you slow down the opponent's attack? Again, a personal preference is to stop the switch, and then I think it's important to look for your attackers to recover. If they've been broken in the press, can they recover below the ball? And then get that shape again as a collective and then be more difficult to break down. Okay, what does that look like? Again, this is a different system, so the principles can adapt. This is a diamond 4-4-2. The centre forwards have been beaten in the press. You're looking at stopping progression, ball progression on the left side here. And you can see by doing that, you've got everyone with the distances close by, so there's a lot of marking, and then the body shapes to start vertical progression. Stopping the switch is a little bit more complex. There's two options that the player has to get out. Is through the holding midfielder and a switch, or through the close centre back, near centre back and the switch as well. So in order to stop those with the principles, is then you look at bringing players back across and the forward, again, that recovered into position, challenging them to break the pressure. If they have to go backwards, then you've been successful in that press and action, and then maybe you can squeeze the line up and make it more difficult for them to build. Again, those principles can be adapted for a lot of different systems. And then the last area of the field that I would break principles up into defensively would be the box defending. Now, again, we're not parking the bus. We're not playing like Mourinho's Chelsea at certain stages, but even the great teams, even Pep Guardiola's teams find themselves defended in the box. So have you got a strategy? Have you got a set of principles to help yourself do that? Again, I think it's helpful keeping a narrow shape when the ball is central, stopping the service, asking the midfielders to find the spaces if the defenders have to step out. Again, there's the timing and anticipation. Again, another personal preference, decision making with outlets. Is it clear your lines, or are you looking for specific areas in the transition, specific players that you can look to break pressure and then maybe exploit space in the counter-attack? What does that look like defensively? Well, a lot of times you can't make out a set formation where they're defended in the box. Your lines are really compact in between. But this picture here, I want to show how you adapt and anticipate in relation to the ball. So the defenders are compact, but when the ball comes out to the fullback, again, your back four, maybe read the cross, a couple of yards inside the box, readjust their position, and then here's your outlet that you're looking at maybe playing your forward, and then transition opportunities, counter-attack the other way. So there you have it, different set of principles in different relations to the ball. Again, I think it's good to make it as clear as possible. I think when you're a coach and you're trying to be a high pressing team, that doesn't mean that you're not going to be in block situations. It doesn't mean that you're going to have to defend your own box at times. So having a set of principles in place that if the ball goes into these areas or the context of the game changes, maybe you're down to 10 players and you've got 10 minutes to go and you might have to defend a little bit deeper, even though you're a high pressing team, then that's a good way to use those principles where you can maybe change the shape 4-4-1 or 4-1-3-1, whatever it is, and you're down a player. Principles are a really, really good way of keeping everyone informed of the different types of situations that you're going to be in a game. I'm not a big fan of going from high press to defend your own box. I like to high press, defend the halfway line, defend your own 18-yard box, defend your own 6, defend your own goal. Those references, I think, can be really, really helpful to try and get that back line up. If you get that back line up, you've got a better chance of compressing areas which give the opponents more questions in how they're going to break you down. Maybe they have to go around you Again, a personal preference. If they have to go around you, you've got those areas that you can stop switches and you can keep them down one side, make play predictable. There's a ton more to this. If you enjoy it, please give it a like and a subscribe. If you enjoy the defensive work and you want to read a little bit more, check out the new ebook that we've just released, 30 high-intensity pressing exercises. As always, subscribe, like if you enjoy it. If you have any requests, put them on the comments below and we will check them out. Thank you so much for your support. I will see you next week. Goodbye.